Okay, we're continuing. This is part 2 about how to prevent Parkinson's disease from the book Prevent and Reverse Parkinson's Disease by me, Pete Rogers. Also in Prevent Chronic Disease, Chronic Fatigue. Now, we're going to talk about trichloroethylene. This is a real dangerous chemical. This is a standard chemical used in the dry cleaners. This and perchloroethylene. Okay, per means 4. All right, tri, of course, means 3. So perchloro means 4 chlorines on the molecule, on an ethylene, double bonded carbons over here. This is trichloroethylene with the 3 of them. Anyways, these dry cleaning chemicals, what's so scary about them is they can pass through the wall. So what this means to me is, let's say you're going to the grocery store and you see a dry cleaners next to the grocery store. Don't go to the grocery store. Just say, screw that place. Don't go there. Okay? Let's say you're thinking about renting an apartment. Okay? And you see that there's a dry cleaners on the ground floor of the apartment. Don't get an apartment there, because it'll pass through the walls and it'll get into the food. It'll drift up into the rooms in the apartment building. Not good. You don't want to be anywhere near these dry cleaner places. I don't take any of my stuff to the dry cleaners anymore. Okay? You don't need to take stuff to the dry cleaners. Your dress shirts, you can just wash them. Okay? I just wash them with water. Okay? I usually don't even need to iron them, and I don't buy no iron. Okay? They're covered up by the suit primarily. The suit. I almost never wash the darn thing. And it's fine. I've had it for many, many years. You know, my other suits as well. Anyways, these chemicals, trichloroethylene, they're used for dry cleaners. They're used for degreasing, metal cleaners. You don't want to use stuff that people use to clean metal. A lot of idiots are always cleaning. You know, those people end up with Parkinson's disease, those idiots. Okay, can be used in making decaf coffee. I don't drink decaf coffee. I think decaf coffee is stupid. It still has caffeine in it, all right? Not as much, maybe half as much. Why mess with that? Can be used to clean silicone chips for computers. Like many other chemicals, it's associated with increased risk of Parkinson's. Okay, they're soluble in fat. They can get across the blood-brain barrier. Not good. You'll also find it in liquid paper, paint removers. All of these chemicals are bad. Anything that's going to be like a soap of these types, these real powerful cleaning chemicals, they're toxic to you. Anything that's toxic to bugs is going to be toxic to you. So they're used for carpet cleaners, for shoe polish, cleaning wipes, making semiconductors. I know there's a lot of people, they love cleaning wipes. Oh, I need a cleaning wipe. I need a cleaning wipe. When I don't see that, I think you're fucking stupid. Okay, why would you rub that toxic crap on yourself? Anyways, that's a good rule of thumb. You want to live like Adam and Eve, but keep your indoor heating and plumbing. You're not made for all these toxic chemicals. All right, now here's a diagram of what happens. Okay, if you have a dry cleaners next to an apartment building, it goes up into the apartment building, or a store. It'll go into the store and can get into the food. I'm not kidding you. Look it up. You'll be amazed. All right, there's also something where you'll have a factory, and it'll have trichloroethylene or perchloroethylene, and it'll dump it into a dry well, like they're trying to bury it underground. But guess what? This stuff is so freaking toxic, it can travel underground and get into well water, and then the well water locally can have it. So if you got well water, you want to make sure you're filtering that well water with reverse osmosis as well. Okay. That's the modern world. It's full of things that are toxic, okay? You don't want to live near a factory. They're often pumping out toxic chemicals. You don't want to live next to an electrical power plant, okay? And then there's other things I see in the Parkinson's literature which I think is totally stupid, and I don't believe it for one second. You have to remember, not everything in the medical literature is true. They say that some say smoking tobacco or drinking caffeine are protective of Parkinson's. I don't believe it, not for one second. Caffeine decreases blood flow to the brain, and it increases the metabolic rate of the neuron. So it widens the gap between the metabolic rate of the neuron and the amount of oxygen and glucose it's going to get. So you starve the friggin' neuron, okay? That's not going to improve neuronal function. Tobacco is a major hypoxicant, dropping oxygen delivery. So you're starving the mitochondria oxygen. That's not going to help. The body has a compensatory polycythemia in response to smoking tobacco, meaning it increases the number of red blood cells. That's going to make your blood thick. Thick blood causes tissue hypoxia. So it worsens the problem, okay? You don't want it. Stupid. Okay, excessive psychological stress is bad, of course. You want to get your sleep, get your sunshine. I don't like teas because they concentrate fluoride typically. Some of them have microplastics. Some of them concentrate aluminum. Some of them can be liver toxic, like that Rooibos tea. I don't like that. I won't drink bottled water. I don't drink anything out of plastic. You're going to get those microplastics. They find them in the brains. People with cognitive decline, you don't want that. If you're going to store water or take water with you, let's say to work, have a reverse osmosis filter at home and then store it in a glass bottle. Aristotle, the highest intelligence sees connections where no one has seen them before. Okay, there's a guy by the name of Michael Brownlee. He wrote the greatest paper ever written on diabetes. And he figured out that it was primarily due to saturated fat causing insulin resistance by blocking mitochondrial membrane electron transport. This has been called overnutrition. Anyways, a little bit about mitochondria so you have a little bit more understanding of them. Let me show you the anatomy of them. So the mitochondria have an outer membrane, OMM, outer mitochondrial membrane, and inner membrane, IMM. So the inner membrane, this is color-coded here, it's green. Outer mitochondrial membrane is black. Intramembranous space, IMS here, is in here. That's where the protons are going to be pumped when we talk about that. The center is the matrix. Matrix means like the mother. The center of the thing is in yellow, mitochondrial matrix, okay? You're going to hear about these parts of the mitochondria all the time. Krebs cycle runs in the mitochondrial matrix. That's part of metabolizing glucose, okay? All right. Now here is a side view of the inner mitochondrial membrane right here. And complexes, number one, these are protein complexes, number 1, number 3, and number 4. They all pump protons into the intramembranous space. Here's the outer mitochondrial membrane, OMM. So this is the intramembranous space between the inner and the outer mitochondrial membrane. So in here is the mitochondrial matrix. Anyways, like a nuclear power plant, the hydrogen atom is split. That's what I mean by, this is made by God. It's way too complicated. Evolution, by the way, is fake. Just so you know, I was an A+ student in evolutionary biology at Stanford. And it explains microevolution, a variety of dogs, okay, but it doesn't explain macroevolution, new body types, new phyla, things like that. It doesn't explain origin of life, etc. Okay, and the complexity of this is so off the charts extraordinary. So you split the atom of hydrogen into its component electron and component proton. The proton's pumped into intermembranous space. The electrons are passed down through a series of carriers, like a fireman bucket brigade, okay, to progressively stronger electron grabbers. And oxygen is the ultimate electron grabber. It sits in the mitochondrial matrix waiting for that electron, and it grabs it. And then quickly it becomes combined with the hydrogen to make water. That's what's supposed to happen, okay? So anything that blocks this electron transport is going to prevent the ATP from being made. The way ATP is being made is once you produce this pressurized gradient of hydrogen protons, it's like pressurized air. You just let a little bit out, and that proton will come right through here, and that will be used to spin ATP synthase. And then the spinning of ATP synthase is coupled to adding a phosphate to ADP, adenosine diphosphate. So you go from 2-phosphate to adenosine triphosphate with 3 phosphates, ATP. And that's how energy in the human body is made, over 90% of it. Okay. So you want this running well. By the way, a little bit of sunshine helps us to run well. It's thought to fluidize the space around ATP synthase to make it easier to make ATP. Okay. This is just showing you the gradient. It's about negative 160 millivolts. That's an incredibly powerful gradient, the most powerful gradient in the whole human body, okay? The electrical gradients are incredible things, all right? And they're really almost also like an electrical battery. Not only is it a nuclear power plant to split the atom, it's also like an electrical power plant and an electrical battery. That's what I mean by the complexity of this design. It's done by a mind quite superior to all of mankind, like God, okay? So if you block these transporters of electrons, these electron carriers, then this gradients, then you're going to start backing up in your electron transport. You're going to start dropping electrons down into the matrix, and they're going to form free radical chemicals. That's bad, okay? Okay, I just wanted to show you about why is oxygen the most powerful electron grabber in the mitochondria, because it's got the highest Second highest electronegativity. The highest electronegativity is fluoride, and fluoride is a real toxic chemical. It steals electrons all over the place. Oxygen, we're able to use it in a positive way in the mitochondria, but it's a powerful molecule, okay? These numbers here are what's called electronegativity, and they're an indicator of the strength of grabbing a electron, okay? So the ultimate electron acceptor in mitochondrial energy production is oxygen. It's called oxidative phosphorylation. You'll hear that word a lot, oxphos. And the key point is that oxygen really wants to grab electrons. Okay, here's just another diagram showing you what it's all about. Basically, the component hydrogen is split into its component electron, component proton. The protons are pumped into intermembranous space. The electrons here, and let's say you have 24 hydrogens, the electrons are passed down till they get to oxygen. Protons are pumped out, and then the proton pump gradient is harvested by letting one come back in, and that's coupled to make an ATP. Okay, so this is the intermitochondrial membrane, IMM, and here's the intermembranous space, IMS. And here's the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, now we talked about all these mitochondrial inhibitors, so you want to avoid all this stuff. And you want to avoid anything that's toxic to the brain. I made a whole bunch of lectures on these things. So basically, how do you get good blood flow to the brain? You eat a low-fat, low-sodium, 100% vegan, 100% organic diet with no oils, okay? And don't add any sodium to it. That'll optimize blood flow to the brain. And then you avoid all these things that inhibit mitochondria. You avoid things that overstimulate brain cells, causing their metabolic rate to go up for no reason. That's things like aspartame. That's toxic. Glyphosate's also an excitotoxin, overstimulates neurons. Avoid things that smell bad, like VOCs, volatile organic chemicals, aerosol sprays, okay, because those they inhibit something called SERCO, which has the same effect as increasing the amount of work the cell needs to do to compensate for that. So they cause extra work for the cell. They're bad. You don't want processed food, not to mention all these toxic chemicals, but they're often fortified with iron. The average man in the Western countries is iron overloaded by the time he's in his mid to late 20s. Okay, average woman tends to get iron overloaded, let's say by about 5-10 years after her menopause. Okay, because people in the West eat tons of meat and they eat lots of processed food, fortified, which means made worse by adding iron to it. Okay. All right, so avoiding all these things, get your sleep, get your exercise, optimize your blood flow, and that can help you to slow the progression of your Parkinson's disease. And I also talked about potentially removing your dental amalgams to get that mercury out of your mouth. Anyways, that's it for the mitochondria inhibitors and for how to prevent Parkinson's disease. I hope you found that helpful.